The city lights are driving me so crazy as I walk the lonely streets of old Tamworth. How I wish that I was back there in the dream time, in the country where there's always peace and quiet. Oh, how I wish that I was back in the dream time. Hear the didgeridoo droning in the night, where corroborees are seen by the firelight, far away from the glow of city light. You know that old Main Street, it just makes me feel so lonely. Oh, the gum trees and the taste of porcupine. I see my brothers and my sisters here in Tamworth, torn apart by government ways and city life. Oh, how I wish that I was back in the dream time. Hear the didgeridoo droning in the night, where corroborees are seen by the firelight, where the white man's ways won't bother me no more. No, the white man's ways won't bother me no more.
And that was Roger Knox and Jon Langford with The Streets of Tamworth. Roger, thanks so much for joining us on RN Drive.
Thank you for having us.
Tell us about that song.
That song was written by Harry Williams, originally called Streets of Fitzroy. I live in Tamworth, and I sort of changed it because I like the song, and I called it The Streets of Tamworth, and it's one of my favourite songs, and it's a favourite around a lot of communities. So,
look, I'd like to start by going all the way back. You're a icon of Australian and international country music, but you didn't grow up on country music. What was the music like when you were growing up?
Oh, the only music I knew growing up was gospel music, and the gospel songs were taught to me by my grandmother, who ran the church at home where I grew up at Tumala. And but yeah, it's that's the only music I knew, and we look forward to gathering and singing these songs, which we thought made us feel good, and we look forward to it every week, together. We didn't have a big hall, or we just had a big fire that we'd sit around. That was our gathering place at church, and we had Sunday school there, we had church there, and and I give credit to my grandmother for introducing me to.
Was she musical as well?
Well, she sang, but she wasn't music. My mother, she sang in the church choir, and
right.
It was all part of that.
Yeah.
And my granny, she sang, but she wasn't a real good singer, But she liked to sing and liked to, the music.
Great. And so do you remember when you listened to country music for the first time? It must have been something of a revelation.
Yeah, well, I didn't know what country music was. I mean, I learned some songs from my cousins and my older brother, who went away and came back and singing these different songs that we knew growing up. And, and after I heard a record or something, or someone had an old radio, and they said, "Hey, this is a song, a Slim Dusty song." And my cousin, I said, "That's his song." I didn't know about country music or what country music was about, but I mean, we had our own songs and stories which we told in song, like my grandparents and that, but we didn't. That was taken away from us, so we didn't have any of that type of music. So I think country music is where we went to. and because we could all play it, we could all sing it, we all liked it, and and we taught each other guitar. I mean, we didn't know nothing about chords, what this chord is and what that chord, but we played it.
Yeah.
And we learned it that way,
And was there a moment when you realised that this would actually be your life and a career? Was that something that you always dreamed of, or did it kind of dawn on you slowly?
No, I didn't have any dreams of being a singer. I didn't. I wanted to play football, rugby league. Yeah.
So music's gain is rugby league's loss.
Well, I don't know. I was a boxer. Let's do some boxing, and one of my cousins, he was up into the boxing, and he trained us really hard and well, and and I wanted to be like him, and I said, wow, yeah, to fight, and that's where I wanted to go, until I left home and went to Tamworth, and another cousin who came with me knew that we could sing. We sit around singing these gospel songs, so he, I don't know what you call it, tricked me or into going into this place and singing a song, and I got up and I sang it to sing in front of different type of people, like all white people. I didn't know. I was scared, and nervous. And
well, there you go. We've got that family member to thank.
But I tell you something, like I get an applause, and I didn't know what that was.
Really?
Oh, it must mean good, So I felt a bit good about that.
Well, it sounds like you got used to it by now.
Because back home, you don't get applause. If you didn't like a song, you just get up and walk away.
Yeah, right.
You sit there by yourself singing. Yeah.
So it sounds like you've had some tough gigs then.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, look, tell us about the new album. It's called Stranger in My Land. This has been 9 years in the making. What's been going on during that time?
Ooh, 9 years in the making.
Was it really 9 years?
Yeah, it didn't seem like 9 years.
Yeah, I met Roger up at the Tamworth Music Festival.
And we're speaking with Jon Langford as well.
Sorry,
Jon, you've been
this is Jon Langford.
Yeah, you've been collaborating on this. Well, tell us the story, Jon. Why's Roger been dragging his heels for so long?
I don't know if he's been dragging his heels, but I think Clinton Walker summed it up in his book Buried Country, which is about the whole phenomenon of Indigenous people in Australia using kind of American country and Western music to tell their story, and I got really fascinated with it, and I didn't really know where it was, and I tried to buy records and I couldn't find any of it, and it's like Clinton kind of dug it up with that book, but by the time I came to Australia in the last 10 years, it's really buried again, and I just felt like those songs deserved to be heard. I talked to Bloodshot, the label that I record for in America, and they got fascinated with it as well, and we decided to come over and see if Roger would kind of sing songs from that genre, not just the songs that he'd sung in his career, but other people, his peers, and people who'd passed on, like Bobby McLeod, and just to sort of, so you could actually go to a record store and buy those songs, because it was impossible before that.
Yeah, because there's a real kind of tribute aspect to the album. Can you tell us about some of the people and figures who you're paying tribute to in this work?
Well, the one I'd like to talk about is Dougie Young. Now, Dougie Young was a songwriter. He was a singer. He was a poet. He was a composer, but he wasn't labelled as that. He wasn't known as a. But he knocked around with songwriters and singers, and the rumours was he knocked around with people like Banjo Patterson or one of those poets.
Yeah.
Like the Man for Snow River.
Yeah, right.
I can't. But there's a rumour out that way that Dougie Young knocked about with those guys, because if you listen to his songs, I mean, he talk about a lot of modern type stuff like the nuclear war. He talked about and he also talked about his tough times growing up and in the outback, and he also talked about other people like Billy Bargo, who nobody know anything about, and he was a rodeo rider, he was a whip cracker, and he actually travelled with Tex Morton, and he was one of the pioneers of the country music in Australia. So I focus on, I'm talking about Dougie Young because, Aboriginal people back then weren't poets or songwriters. They weren't until sort of later in years, Kath Walker and all those people come along. They're known as songwriters, poets, and but Dougie Young and back, and I know other people up my way up in North New South Wales who were the same. They didn't actually put pen to paper, they made them up in their mind, and they had stacks of songs which they, actually wrote and remembered. Well, not wrote, but remembered, made up and remembered. So, yeah, they didn't have a big book full of songs. They just had a memory full of them.
So how important is it to you to now have that kind of recorded for posterity through your work?
I think it's really important because we still have to tell our stories, and things haven't changed, as far as I'm concerned, since then till now. But if we can get our stories and tell them how it was, and to the wider community, we can better understand. We can break down that stereotype that exists there, and to know that there's really some great Aboriginal people, storytellers in those times. Stories was part of our culture. We go way back. Stories about listening, learning, hearing. And that's what it was all about through song and through dance. But we lost all that, so we, going another way now, telling our stories about our country and about our heritage, about our history.
On RN Drive, we're speaking with Roger Knox and his musical collaborator, Jon Langford, about the new album. And Roger, you've had some amazing collaborations on this album. Can you tell us about some of the people that you've worked with, and what was it like to have all those kind of different musical interactions in the process of the album?
Wow. Well, I worked with people like Sally Timms, and there's a lot of people that I didn't work with on this album, but they pretty much, were high in the field of music.
Yeah.
And I was really proud, honoured to be a part of that. And I guess I can get Jon to, tell you more about that.
One of the hiccups we had with the album was I had a studio booked and a band ready to go, and then U.S. immigration in their, in their infinite wisdom, decided Roger shouldn't be allowed into the United
You're
States.
kidding.
It was in 2009. We had a festival in San Francisco in Golden Gate Park, and invested a lot of time and energy. We even had the speaker of the, Nancy Pelosi.
Really?
She was friends with the people who ran the festival. And it just seemed ridiculous that immigration could prevent somebody who'd been invited in by American citizens who were going to pay for everything, accommodate him, and then they just wouldn't let him in. And so we managed to get him in last year, though. 3 years later, he
You
came
slipped in the back door, did you, Roger? Or?
Well, coming from Tumala to San Francisco, walking on the stage in front of, 20,000 people or more?
It was a bit shocking, wasn't
it was scary. It was scary. But it was, Jon and his band that we talked about this, Jon just talked about, which sort of helped me, took away a lot of nerves and think, I'm not a terrorist. I don't even look like a terrorist.
Yeah, pretty friendly sort of terrorist, I would have thought.
Well, I thought one of the reasons they gave that he wasn't culturally unique enough, and I thought, well, how many Aboriginal country and Western singers have you got knocking around the US
this morning,
week?
yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
But it added another level to the whole project as well, then, to see that kind of like, what I felt was victimization. And to see that how, Roger's had to deal with that. I mean, somebody said, God, Roger must be really upset, that he didn't get it at the States. I think Nev said, our drummer said, I think Roger's probably big enough to deal with that after what he's had to put up with in his life, So.
Another thing that really took me back is when I came off stage in San Francisco, at the back there was a huge eucalyptus tree. It was huge.
Wow.
And I felt like saying, my people are older than this tree, and you know. Yeah.
And what was the reaction like from the audiences when you played that?
Oh, we got a good reaction. Yeah, it was.
Well, I've never.
No one standing up, walking out like the fellas.
No. There was plenty of applause. And
we played a club the night before we played the festival, and I've actually never had a reaction on stage like Roger sang Archie Roach's "Took the Children Away."
Yes.
And there was some Native American people in the crowd down at the front, and they were just standing there crying and went.
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been an amazing moment.
It was really powerful.
I mean, it affected me because, and we come to the reverse where it says, "One sweet day, all the children came back." Don't get applause.
Everybody cheered.
Everybody cheered. So sort of taken by that.
Fantastic.
I mean, it was standing room only too. It was right down to the stage, and
packed. It was great.
It was new to me, and coming.
And Roger got to meet a lot of the people who played on the record.
Yeah,
even
right.
though the record was complete, and he hadn't, met them.
Of course.
I'd had to come over here to do the vocals because he couldn't get into America. Yeah, right. But it was really nice for him to meet the Sadies and to meet Dave Alvin and all these people who were
Yes.
involved, and Sally. You know.
It's obviously been a long and complicated journey, but it's one that's certainly borne fruit. Roger, you've been described by no doubt PR people as the Australian Johnny Cash, and I know one of the things that you've done.
No, not Johnny
there,
Cash. I've never heard that before.
maybe it's just our music producer. But I know you've done gigs in prisons over the years, and you're much respected for that. Can you tell us a little bit about those experiences?
Yes, that was an experience. Well, I did nearly 14 years of, going into prisons and institutions, and it's really hard to do that. I mean, you go into these places and, all you see is pretty much hate stares and self-frowns, and you start playing music, and it takes a while to get everyone, going. But if you put in 100% effort and do things they like, it just lift and stay that way for at least a week. But it's a really, a thing that I like doing, because you go in there, you can't go in there half-hearted just to give 100% effort. And I had people with me like Bobby McLeod, Vic Sims, who were fantastic, who did spend some time in there and knew what it was all about. But I know that going into these places and knowing that you can come out, that evening, and but to meet a lot of the young Aboriginal people inside and to talk and to try and uplift those guys, and because a lot of them sort of feel down when you don't get a visit, and get really, really bad. I get to talk to those guys and uplift and explain to them why their family's not here, and it sort of helps. And music is just one of the ways, things that we do inside prison. And I've also been to prisons in Canada. Yeah, a lot of the Native American prisons over there, which is pretty much similar to
it's the similar experience.
A similar experience, yeah, because we had the stolen generation, and they pretty much know all about that. We connected. And I've had some really good people working with me during those times. And I mean, we didn't get nothing out of it. We just, put a lot in. But what we see, what we do, did a lot for us more than that.
Well, I mean, it's an amazing variety, from 20,000 people in America to prisons in Australia and Canada.
Back to Tumala, back to the mission. Yeah.
And now the toughest place of all, the RN Drive studio as well. Very challenging. But
yes.
Well, look, let's see how you go in this little forum, because I gather you guys are happy to play a song for us?
Yes.
What's it going to be?
We're going to do one of our favourite songs. It's called A Ticket to Nowhere.
This was a single by a guy called Jim Ridgway.
Jimmy Ridgway from the Hunter Valley.
He was a boxer, and it was the only record he ever made. So
yeah. All aboard for nowhere, nothing town. Plane that goes nowhere, goes all the way straight down. If I could go somewhere, I would be long gone on this one-way ticket to nowhere, the day that I was born. I got a ticket to nowhere written on my face, going through trouble, sorrow and disgrace. I got a ticket to nowhere issued to my race, one-way ticket to nowhere, got no town, no any place. Sing it like Charlie.
Everyone's got somewhere to go before they die, and everyone knows somehow they can make it if they try. But I'm standing on the station with my suitcase in my hand, with a one-way ticket to nowhere in this never land.
I got a ticket to nowhere written on my face, I'm going through trouble, sorrow and disgrace. I got a ticket to nowhere, issued to my race. One-way ticket to nowhere, got no town nor any place. I got a ticket to nowhere, no town, no place.
Roger Knox and Jon Langford, thank you so much for joining us on RN Drive.
Thank you for having us. I forget your name, that's why.
That's all right, no worries. That was absolutely delightful. Thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed it.
Charlie Louvin sang that with Roger.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
That's what I said, singing like Charlie.
Singing like Charlie.
Yeah.
RN.